What is going on, my crazy 76er fanatics? Guys, thanks for stopping back in for another daily pod with the daily discourse, the daily discussion, the likers, the watchers, the commenters. Thank you guys so much for stopping back in. And we got to talk about that press conference. What did we learn from the GM presser? Bob Myers said some things. Jameer Nelson said some things. Mike Gansey said some things. And Josh Harris didn't speak loud enough for us to hear what he had to say. But Jameer Nelson says that everybody in the front office, the three guys I mentioned, plus the one guy paying the bills, Josh Harris, are all on one accord. They're all aligned, and they all believe what Jameer Nelson says right here. Jameer Nelson on helping building a culture, which seemed to be one of the biggest talking points for everyone during their GM presser. Mike Gansey said Jameer Nelson said that Mike Gansey said it in his press conference. I'll read some of the things he said because we're all aligned. You have to have people in the building who want to be here. That's where culture and environment starts. And that was one of the heavily pushed narratives at the presser, is that players who want to be in Philadelphia will be in Philadelphia, and players who don't want to be in Philadelphia have to go, have to be shipped off, and have to find brand new homes. Now, these very subtle comments were direct jabs at who? At who? And that's what the comments are for, guys, because I do have my suspicions. I think these comments were directed at Paul George. Why does Paul George not want to be in Philadelphia? Well, for the first, he had to stop podcasting. To be on Philly, to play in Philly, they forced him to stop podcasting. Did you read the comments on some of Paul George's recent pods where he was underperforming? Philadelphia fans let him have it. The thumbs down button was used a lot. YouTube had to get rid of it because of Philadelphia, the way they treated Paul George. So when the GM, when Jameer Nelson and Bob Myers are saying, if you want to be in Philly, you will. And if you don't want to be in Philly, you won't play for this team. That's got to be directed at some of the players who were disgruntled, like Paul George, who had to change his lifestyle, had to stop potting, and has been under scrutiny since signing here. Other players who may not want to be in Philadelphia, maybe Joel Embiid. There was a lot of talk about Joel, about if he's going to be here and how they feel about him. Does Joel want to be in Philly? Joel has come out verbally multiple times and says, I do and don't want to be in Philly. I would love to win in Philly, but I hate losing in Philly, and I don't want to be in Philly if we're going to lose. But if we're going to win, I'll be in Philly. That may be exactly who they're talking about. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no maybes. There is yes and no's. Will you stay in the city of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love that's shown you so much, or do you want to go? Jameer Nelson, though, had this to say on Joel Embiid and the team's goal surrounding Joel Embiid. Jameer Nelson said, the goal is to get Joel on the floor as much as we can. We all know when he's on the floor, he's the best big. So maybe they're not talking about Joel Embiid. Maybe Joel Embiid isn't the player they're saying has to go if he doesn't want to be in Philly. Joel loves Philly. Philly loves Joel when things are going well. But this is another thing we learned from the presser. There are no timelines. Mike Gansey, the true GM and the true leader of basketball operations on the day-to-day, said this surrounding the Maxey and VJ timeline versus the Paul George and Embiid timeline. I don't look at it as a timeline. I just look at it as we have those four, and we got to maximize those four. Obviously, VJ and Tyrese are younger, but Paul and Joel can still play at a high level. We were 24-14 when Joel Embiid played. And that's a fact. What you learn from this presser is that Maxey and VJ are the cornerstones of the franchise. And what you can question is how much love, how much admiration, and how much consideration this team is going to give the likes of Joel Embiid. I also want to note this. Bob Myers said this team had no identity. No identity. No culture. And here's what Mike Gansey said on the roster moves to help foster some culture, help bring and bolster an identity. Mike Gansey said this on Philadelphia's moves they plan to be making. If they don't want to be here, or you don't feel they fit with our culture, then we don't want it. We want people that want to be in Philadelphia. I'm a big on having fountains, not drains in the building. And this is another reason why I feel as though they may be directing this at Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is not the fountain of youth. Joel Embiid is holding on to any amount of athleticism, of high level skill that he still has in his body. He's holding on to it, but it's dwindling down. Some may say it's draining. And that's where I question, who is Mike Gansey highlighting? Who is Mike Gansey talking about? Is Joel Embiid a fountain of youth? No. But is Joel Embiid a drain? Does he bring other people down with him? I would argue no. I would like to say no. But when you're getting older, you're getting slower, and you're holding on to any amount of greatness that you still have, it's not a fountain that Joel is. Maybe he's more of a drain. Other things that Mike Gansey said that I thought was very important, just to talk about the plans that they have for this offseason, the plans that they're going to be not only enacting, but the direction they're going to be going from the draft to free agency to the start of the training camp. Here's what Mike Gansey said on what Philly needs to do for some of the roster moves. Again, this is the president of basketball operations. Here's what Philly's going to do. We got to get a good player in the draft and just building depth. And a big part is internal development. Tyrese, VJ, and some of our other young guys, they got to get better too. I think our plan is internal growth, pick 22, and then free agency. And he highlighted how important that draft pick was. Hitting a home run with that draft pick, a home run player, someone who fits perfectly with the culture, fits perfectly with the timeline of the youth of Tyrese, VJ, who can excel, play well, and do a lot in small stints and small spurts. That's what this draft pick is going to be about. And you can't trade for that because we don't have the pieces. One thing he didn't mention is the trade market, making phone calls to other teams. He just mentioned the draft. He mentioned internal development. And he also mentioned just getting guys on the court. And I got to mention, guys, if you're not trading, then you haven't downloaded Kalshi yet. Kalshi is a live market app where you are trading peer-to-peer, and if you use code FANARCH, you get 10 when you trade 10. Like I said, the Spurs and the Knicks are underway, and if you think the Spurs are going to win the whole gosh darn thing, because Mikal Bridges has lost 4 in a row before. Mikal Bridges can lose 4 in a row. Again, look how he played. If you think the Spurs are going to win the whole gosh darn thing, you put $100 down, you're walking away with more than $300 back in tradables, all right? Kalshi is a live tradable market where you trade peer-to-peer, meaning there is no house, which as the markets move in real time, you can trade in and out of your position for a limited time. Download the app Kalshi. Use code FANARCH to get 10 when you trade 10. And I want to highlight this one more time because I forgot to mention how important this was. Mike Gansey did say the draft. Mike Gansey did say internal growth. Mike Gansey did highlight the most important part, free agency. It's going to be a lot of vet minimums, a lot of people on short contracts. We've been told that this team doesn't expect to spend much or anything at all. That's what we've been highlighted. Bleacher Report let us know that the team's decision to trade Jared McCain is a good indicator of how likely they are to spend above luxury tax line on next year's roster, which is to say the Sixers will probably cheap out again. And when you listen to Mike Gansey speak on how the draft is the most important part, how free agency and internal growth is the most important part, they don't have the cap space to sign big-name free agents. They have the cap space to sign underutilized, under-recruited, maybe underdeveloped free agents who maybe be able to play over expectation. And the draft, guys. Here are a list of players from the draft this team needs to be interested in. I've got you, man. Cameron Carr, Chris Sinak, who I'm hearing is getting a lot of high praise, a lot of celebration out there on the mock drafts. Chris Sinak to Philadelphia has been one of the highly touted draft picks. Ade Morrow, they question if Joel Embiid is going to play, if Joel Embiid is going to stay. If you need to replace Joel, replace him with 7'3" athleticism who can shoot, stretch the floor, and maybe contend with Wembanyama. Ade Morrow, Marez Johnson, Joshua Jefferson, Allen Graves, Koa Pete, Kareem Lopez. These are some, again, high ceiling players, extremely high ceiling players. Some of these players also have extremely, considerably deep floors. Considerably deep floors. Cameron Carr is great. Chris Sinak is great. Ade Morrow, Marez Johnson. These guys could legit play above expectation and be rotational players, starting players, key players. But we're going to need those players to be home run picks in this draft because we don't have too much cap space, too many assets they want to use. They haven't talked about the Clippers picks or using those picks. So those picks are to stay, especially with the way the new anti-tanking draft rules are. Clippers picks are here to stay. Guys, like, comment, and subscribe. We're giving you guys a chance to comment all week long because ain't nothing wrong with the Sixer team. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to give you more comments, more pressers, and more details on what's going to happen with Joel, without Joel, plus Paul George. Like, comment, and subscribe.